This is the gubernatorial candidate debate, held on December 11, 2017, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
Wonderful. Welcome. We have a great afternoon planned for folks. My name is Annalise Eicher. I am the program director down at One Wisconsin Now down in Madison, and I am very grateful to be moderating this debate today. I would like to give a big thank you to the VFW Post 305 for being our host this afternoon, and I would like to give a big thank you, by all means. And I would also like to recognize our sponsors who worked so hard to put this together. That would be the Wisconsin Farmers Union, the Wisconsin State AFL-CIO, AFSCME Subchapter 63, and the Wisconsin Alliance for Retired Americans. Please give them a thank you. Now, before we delve into the meat of the debate and our wonderful questions that have been submitted for us today, just a couple reminders. I'm going to remind folks of the format and how we're going to do this. But first, I would like to note that if you did not RSVP as media, please refrain from filming. You will be asked to stop if you are seen filming and not RSVP'd as media. And if you did not stop, you might be asked to leave. So, no filming unless you have already been cleared to do so. Now, as I was preparing for this debate and this wonderful crowd in front of me here, I was kind of think, well, geez, how do we go about dealing with this many folks? And I thought back to my time every spring and every fall as a soccer coach, a youth soccer coach. You guys are about the size of my team of children that I coach. And one thing that is wonderful about 4th and 5th grade girls is that they have so many things to say, which I am sure all of you do as well. And they are also incredibly good at following directions. Now, you and I have already gone over this, but for our audience, our format today will be, y'all will get a chance to introduce yourselves. You will have 2 minutes to answer each question. And then you will have a minute to say your closing statements, say anything that you did not get to, but you will only have a minute. And as a reminder, we have the wonderful Sue next to me who will be holding up time cards. If you do not stop when Sue asks you to stop, we have wonderful Andy over here who will turn off your microphone. And if you continue talking, I'm sure we can find some folks in the audience who would be willing to escort you out the door. With that, we have drawn the order for answering questions and introducing yourselves in advance. We have gone over the intro order, but I'm going to have Sue remind us. Sue is going to read the list of the order in which you will be introducing yourself, at which point, when she is done, we'll go to our first person and we will start timing at our 2 minutes.
All right, the order for introductions. Number 1 is Matt Flynn. Number 2, Ryan Kaysen. Number 3, Michelle Dolan. Number 4, Mike McCabe. Number 5, Jeff Rumbaugh. Number 6, Kelda Royce. Number 7, Bob Harlow. Number 8, Malin Mitchell. Number 9, Dana Walks. Number 10, Tony Evers. Number 11, Andy Gronick. And number 12, Dave Heister.
And with that, Matt Flynn. Sue, are you ready? All right, your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here. My name is Matt Flynn. I'm running for governor, and I wanted to introduce myself to you. I was the chairman of this party for 2 terms, and during that time period, we retired our debt and elected a Democratic governor. I'm a Navy veteran, and it's especially good for me to be here in this hall today. And my wife, Mary, and I have been married for 41 years. She's from Monroe originally, and we make our home in Milwaukee. And when I declared back in October, a journalist tweeted out, "Matt Flynn is running for governor, what do you think?" And the first guy that came back said, "I am for Matt Flynn 100%. When he was with Green Bay, he threw 6 touchdowns against the Lions." True story. So that put me in my place. But I am a quarterback, different kind of quarterback. And I'm running very simply because I don't want to stand by and see our democracy destroyed. In Washington, D.C., Donald Trump is betraying us to the Russians for bribery and for blackmail. He's let the Russians into the White House, into the government, and into the Republican Party. Vladimir Putin's still a communist. He murders journalists, he's KGB, and he murders politicians. I want him out of our government. Scott Walker in Madison has led a Chinese company called Foxconn into the state, give them $3 billion so they can use our water but don't have to obey our water regs. That's not going to happen if I'm governor. I will stop that and throw them out if I am governor of this state. The two issues that I am most concerned about are wages and health care. Wages right now, medium wage adjusted for inflation, is lower under Walker than under Doyle. I would get rid of right to work, get rid of Act 10, put back in prevailing wage. And on health care is a right. Everybody, with me as governor, will be able to buy into Badger Care, and I'll be out in Washington and get that $1 billion back that this guy got rid of. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this debate.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Ryan Kaysen. First off, I want to start out with this. I don't know what you heard, but Jesus does love you unconditionally. Secondly, I am running for governor in order to end abortion and homosexual marriage. Thank you.
One second. Go.
Hi, I'm Michelle Doolin, and to answer who the heck that is, I'm the citizen candidate. I'm not a politician. I haven't been doing this my whole life, and I am not sorry for that. I'm a lifelong Wisconsinite, a small business owner, and in my business, communication is vital. I think that it's time to remind the top-down government that democracy is run from the bottom up. It is run by the people. And I want to empower the people to return to the democracy and to participate and reintroduce dialectic thinking when it comes to reasoning and legislation so that common humanity is something that we're focused on again.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike McCabe. I'm the one person in this race who was born and raised on a farm. I come from those rural roots. I come from a place that once voted heavily Democratic and now votes overwhelmingly Republican, and I understand why. I get where they're coming from. I went on to spend most of my adult life exposing and seeking to break the grip of big money influence in our politics. And speaking of money, this election is not going to come down to money. If it does, then Scott Walker will be elected for the fourth time because he will have more than anyone. I think this election has to come down to imagination. It has to come down to offering the people of Wisconsin a vision of what this state has the potential to become and how to reach that potential. I want a Wisconsin that once again deserves the reputation we had for so many years as a beacon of clean and open and honest government. We don't deserve that reputation anymore, and I want to see us deserve it again. I want this state to be a place where if you work, you will not be poor, where there's a living wage for every worker, where there's health care for all, where there is debt-free, affordable education for everyone, where there is high-speed internet everywhere, at every doorstep, to every household. I want Wisconsin to be a place that embraces a clean energy future, that sets its goal to be the first state in the country fully powered by renewable energy. I want this state to be a place where agriculture is practiced in a way that doesn't poison the neighbors and dry up lakes and streams. We can have that Wisconsin, and making that Wisconsin the place that we can all cherish again. That is what this election is all about.
Are we there? We're there. Greetings, everyone. I'm Jeff Rumbaugh, and I'm running for governor of Wisconsin. And for the last almost 2 decades, I have been working with and advocating for adolescents and adults with a wide variety of disabilities and differences. Mostly people on the autism spectrum, but certainly not exclusively. And this is a path, excuse me, that I chose. And I chose this path because I am a compassionate person. That's what I do for a living, 9 to 5, is compassion. And that's who I am. Working in this field of developmental disabilities, I've always said that there's two types of people. There's someone who's there for the paycheck and someone who's there for the passion. The people who are in it for the paycheck are the ones that do not last. I am in this field for the passion, and if elected governor, compassion will be the hallmark of my governorship. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kelda Royce. I believe that Wisconsin can be a place of opportunity and fairness again. I believe we have more in common than divisive politicians would have us believe. And I believe it's time for a governor with a real strategy to create jobs that have high wages and a sustainable economy. As a tech entrepreneur myself and someone who founded a small business, I know that real job creation comes from homegrown innovators, not from corporate giveaways. And I also know that under our current governor, Wisconsin has been dead last in startup creation, and it is hurting our economy and allowing our middle class to shrink. With my experience running a small business, I can change that. I also served in the state legislature, where I was a proven progressive leader. I helped expand healthcare access to over 80,000 Wisconsinites by working to open up Badger Care. And I was a leader on issues from public education to climate change, preserving our natural resources, and campaign finance reform. We deserve a leader with the energy and the experience and ideas to take on the corrupting influence of money in politics. Someone who helps focus on what matters most, which will help bring us together. I'm talking about access to health care, affordable child care, paid family leave, great public schools for every child in Wisconsin. These are the things that unite us. And as a small business owner, I know what it is to focus on results. As a state legislator and an advocate, I know how to deliver results for the people of Wisconsin, and I also know how to stand up for what's right. I've never been afraid to do that, even when it's not popular. Finally, as a parent, the future is very personal to me. I want to make Wisconsin a place of opportunity and fairness for my child and for all of your children. Thank you very much.
I'm Bob Harlow, and I'm running for governor of Wisconsin. I'm a third generation Wisconsinite. I grew up just outside the small town of Barneveld, Wisconsin, known for our many Division IV basketball state titles and the tragic and infamous tornado of 1984. My family owns a small woodworking business, and 3 of my grandparents were professors at our University of Wisconsin-Madison. After graduating from Barneveld High School, I earned a Bachelor's of Science in Physics from Stanford University, and I've worked developing software for several companies, including Technicolor of Technicolor fame. And I've also had a provisional patent filed by Stanford's Technology Licensing Office on intellectual property that I developed. As I travel our state, the message I hear from voters is clear. It is time for Scott Walker's politics of division to end. I know that much more brings us together as Wisconsinites than divides us. Let's come together around the vision of prosperity for Wisconsin that we share. As governor, I will work with our legislature to enact policies that streamline Wisconsin technologies into strong Wisconsin businesses that create good paying jobs. I know that a governor's most important responsibility is to achieve an economic climate that creates good paying jobs, and as governor, I will work tirelessly to ensure that every Wisconsinite has the very best job possible. Thank you.
How we doing? There's actually another blank name tag up here, so if anybody else wants to get in the race, we have some room. That doesn't count against my 2 minutes. My name is Malin Mitchell. I'm the state president of Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin. I'm also a current active firefighter in the city of Madison. I'm a lieutenant there, and I'm running because there's time for a change. As firefighters, we respond to those on the worst days of their lives, and when they're at their worst, we have to be at our best. And right now, Wisconsin, we're not seeing our best, but that's due to change in 2018. We have a governor who ran for president. God bless him for that. That's a hard task. But now he's coming back, and we're essentially his plan B. We're his contingency plan. Now he's looking for 9, 10, 11, and 12th year. And we just can't take 4 more years of Walker. So I'm running because of change. It's time to turn a page. It's time to put people over politics. I believe in three things we're working on: are jobs, the economy. We need to raise wages. There's a problem when the majority of the people in the state of Wisconsin live on $50,000 a year, and when the top 1% average $933,000 a year. We need to raise wages. Our education system, you can't take $1.6 billion out of public education and then put back $638 million now because you're running for office again and call that progress. That's like taking a knife, put it 8 inches in my back, pull it out 4 inches, now I'm supposed to say thank you. It just doesn't work that way. And we also have to work, you can't clap, I only get 2 minutes, but we also have to work on health care. There should never be a time where a kid cannot go to the doctor because their mother or father can't afford it. There should never be a time where a senior, my mother's diabetic, where a senior has to decide if they're going to pay their rent or their mortgage or they're going to get their prescription drugs filled. That can't happen in our state, and not in the greatest state in the world. We need to work on that. I'm running because we have the capacity for change. I'm running because we're going to talk about opportunity, and we got to put people over politics, people over bad policy, and people even over party. Let's work at it. We can do it together. All hands work is my mantra. That's what we do in the fire service. In the fire service, we leave no one behind.
Hi, I'm Dana Wachs. Welcome to my assembly district. This is the 91st Assembly District. I see a lot of faces in the crowd that I've known over the years. I'll tell you what, I'm running for governor because I'm an advocate. For 31 years, I have been an advocate for people in our courtrooms in the western and northern part of the state. An advocate for people in the middle class and people trying to get into the middle class against powerful, wealthy, special interest groups. And I'm in my 3rd term in the legislature, and when I got to Madison, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked at what I found. When you get to Madison, you realize that the same powerful, wealthy, special interest groups that rue the day often in the courtroom are flat out running that capital. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for an advocate for the middle class and people trying to get into the middle class, and that is why I'm running for governor. I will win this race, and I will make darn sure that Wisconsin gets its idea back. If you remember the Wisconsin idea, it was to have legislation for people. That's what it was. All of the issues that we've been hearing about today, all of the problems with this administration come because people aren't at the center of policy. People need to come back to the center. It's our government, and we're going to get it back. And that's why I'm running for governor. Thank you very much.
Are we set? Thanks so much for the sponsors for this great event. And good Lord, look at the crowd. Who says there's not interest in this race? We're almost a year out, and look at all the people here. Anyway, my name is Tony Evers, and I'm State Superintendent of Public Instruction, and presently being sued by the governor of the state of Wisconsin. And I'll tell you, that is more evidence of corruption than you had ever thought of before. Think about that lawsuit, and I'm actually proud that I'm being sued by Scott Walker at this time. Anyway, I was born and raised in Plymouth, Wisconsin, cheese capital of the world. And if you don't believe that, go there. They have a big sign that says that. I met my wife in kindergarten. We've been married 45 years. We have 3 kids, 6 grandkids, all public school kids. very, very proud of that. I began my education career in Toma, spent some time in Oakfield and Oshkosh and Omro and Verona, and been deputy state superintendent and state superintendent of schools. The important thing there is 47% of the vote comes from the central part of the state, including Eau Claire. I have to tell you, I mentioned the lawsuit, and I'll tell you, enough is enough. We have to change the way this state believes and the values of this state. The values of the state are around good, high quality, world class public education, K through whatever, K through 20. We have to make sure that the people that are earning minimum wage across the state get raises and make sure that they have the appropriate health care. We have to make sure that our natural resources are protected. Just today, Scott Walker is going to sign that god-awful mining bill and what it's going to do to northern Wisconsin. I am an advocate for all those great values that you all hold. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you all for being here today.
I'm guessing it might be me. I forgot the order. Okay, I'm Andy Gronick. I am the outsider in this race. But first I want to tell you about a comment I got from somebody in the crowd. I said, if any more people show up for this event, we're at the stack you like cordwood. And that person said to me, we're actually going to have to begin stacking you guys like cordwood. So I thought that was the comment of the day. I am an outsider. I could never have imagined that I would run for public office, let alone for governor. But I'm here running because the system is broken, because Scott Walker broke it, and I am really, really good at fixing things. That's what I did for 35 years in business. I built one of the largest appraisal and consulting firms of its type. I worked with struggling businesses that could not go out and get a conventional bank loan, and I helped them solve very complicated problems. Problems around strategy, productivity, around crisis, you name it, that's what I did. And I helped them to access billions of dollars every single year so they could grow and create good-paying, family-sustaining jobs. Do you think those skills are going to come in kind of handy here in the state of Wisconsin? I think they will. I think we need some jobs. I think we also need to get back to making public education the very best choice for our kids, period. There's lots of ways to do that. It's by addressing the entire system. I only have 2 minutes, so I won't go into the details, but it's absolutely possible. And I think that nobody in this room should ever fear about getting sick because they don't have health care. Health care is a right. Health care is something that should be affordable. And when I'm elected governor, I'll make sure that that happens for everybody in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you for being here, everybody. I really appreciate your being involved early.
Thank you. I think I'm the last one. Hi, my name is Dave Heister. I want to thank the VFW, the Wisconsin Farmers Union, AFL-CIO, ASME, and everyone here for coming out. It's a cold day. I parked like half a mile down that way. Maybe you guys did too. Anyway, I am from Wisconsin. I am, I think, the only blue gold up here. Yeah, blue golds. I'm an Eau Claire alum, so I'm very excited to be back here. I'm the father of 3 kids, all of which are currently in the UW system, the college system. I'm taking donations back there to help me pay for some of that, which brings me to the 3 pillars of my platform. Number 1, education. So God bless you, Tony Evers, and we're all with you on that ridiculous lawsuit. So education, if you want to solve any problem in the world, education is the way to do it. You want to stop ISIS? Educate the people that join ISIS. I have 1 minute left. So that brings me to number 2 in my platform. Number 2 is ethics. I want to get the corruption out of Madison. I want to get basically when people are representing you, I want you to know that they're representing you. I want them to know what you want and make sure that that information is known. And I've got some system ideas. I'm an IT geek, retired. So that's number two. Number three, and lastly, is transparency. You are going to see ridiculous amounts of transparency in my administration. For example, the first 30 days, if I am lucky enough to be your governor, I will wear a body cam that is normally issued to the police. You guys have to get into the Madison Capitol with me, because I can't do it alone. If it's just me and we don't go down ballot, or any of these people if we don't go down ballot, we can't make these changes. Thanks.
I would like to congratulate you all for making it through the first round without going over your time. Congratulations on that. And now for the order of our second question.
And ladies and gentlemen, I am just going to read first names. Number 1 is Mike. Number 2, Bob. Number 3, Kelda. Number 4, Tony. Number 5, Matt. Number 6, Andy. Number 7, Dana. Number 8, Jeff. Number 9, Ryan. Number 10, Malin. Number 11, Michelle. Number 12, Dave.
And asking our first question will be Patty Wright. She is a farmer from Barron County.
Thank you. Wisconsin's anti-corporate farming law prohibits publicly traded corporations from owning farmland in the state, but the statute contains a loophole that allows investment funds to own farmland. Would you support closing that loophole so that farmers do not have to compete against investment funds when purchasing land?
And as a reminder, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. I support closing that loophole. And I would go even a step further. I have come out in favor of a statewide moratorium on new factory agricultural operations. I come from a farm, and it breaks my heart to see how agriculture is evolving. Our family decided to forego health insurance in order to remain profitable. And we also didn't eat the cheese that our milk went to make. We ate Velveeta instead, again, to remain profitable. One thing we would not do to remain profitable was poison the neighbors. One thing we would not do in order to remain profitable was dry up local streams or lakes by sinking high-capacity wells. We have to put our government on the side, squarely on the side of sustainable, smaller-scale agriculture. And today, our government has been put on the side of massive industrialization of agriculture. That's the wrong side. We need to incentivize smaller-scale, sustainable agriculture. We need a moratorium for starters to stop the further proliferation of these massive factory feedlots. But then we need a strategy agriculturally in our society that helps incentivize and even subsidize the flourishing of that small-scale, sustainable form of agriculture.
Over the last decade, farmland is increasingly seen as a great financial investment because there's only a finite amount of farmland worldwide, and the global population that farmland must feed is increasing. Indeed, because arable land is so precious, we must look long-term to protect the productive capability of Wisconsin's farmland. Topsoil erosion and the environmental buildup of nitrates from fertilizer are major risk factors to our state's agricultural future, and we must come together in Madison to work out solutions that will ensure our grandkids inherit a Wisconsin that is just as fertile and productive as the Wisconsin we know.
Peggy, thank you for your question. Yes, I do support closing that loophole. Agriculture is a cornerstone of our state's economy, and it's also such an important part of Wisconsin's cultural heritage. As somebody who has a real estate business, I can understand every day the pressures that farmers are under, especially farmers who don't want to sell off their land to developers. Now, if we're adding additional pressures where you have to compete for keeping working lands in production and under your control with multinational funds that have unlimited resources, there is no way that we're going to maintain our economic health in our communities or the cultural heritage that makes Wisconsin such a special place. I support closing the loophole and helping family farmers maintain ownership of their land. It certainly makes economic sense because when we sell off our farmland to the highest bidder, it increases food costs for everyone in our state. But it also robs us of the multiplier effect that keeping money local has. So the money just goes right out of our community and out of our state. Family farmers who own their land and control it can keep money in our community, and that benefits everyone again and again. Excuse me. It also makes environmental common sense. Farmers are the stewards of our land, and a farmer who lives on the land, works it, is going to be thinking about the long-term health of the soil and the water. And you just can't replace that with a multinational corporation or an investment fund that's going to be working on the whims of Wall Street and trying to maximize profitability. We can't afford it economically or environmentally. And for our cultural heritage and preserving Wisconsin's special rural culture, I support closing this loophole and supporting family farmers in their efforts to help Wisconsin stay sustainable. Thank you.
Well, I don't think I'll be any different than any of my colleagues. I support closing this loophole. There's several really important reasons. One is that there's no way that farmers can compete and afford to buy the land that's owned by a well-funded investment company. There's just no way that can happen. Second of all, and this is really important, and it gets to some of the other questions that have been brought up, as we think about who owns those lands, those investment companies, they go out of their way to buy tillable land without buildings on it. So essentially what's created because of that, and they want one tenant. So what happens? They get one tenant, and we have larger and larger and larger farms because of the investment companies that are buying up land all across the state of Wisconsin. This is a no-brainer. I think this will have bipartisan support. I think we can do this. We also have to make sure that in addition to the investment companies and regulating them to make sure that they can't buy up large tracts of tillable land, we also have to make sure that we protect our water in the state of Wisconsin. And my goal as state superintendent is as governor, excuse me. That's my day job, that's another job. Anyway, I'm very, very concerned about the water in the state and natural resources, and that impacts family farmers also. I pledge to go back to the future and have an independent secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, in addition to have an independent board that supervises that DNR person. The last thing is extremely important. Agriculture is Wisconsin. We are the dairy state. We have to make sure that we continue to support small farmers and diversifying the agriculture industry in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you.
I was glad to see this question on the agenda because this kind of thing rarely comes up. When I was the chairman of the party, I worked closely with the Farmers Union, and I don't know if any of you knew Bob Freida. He had Sussex jerseys down in Sussex in Waukesha County, and he mentored a lot of people in the Democratic Party about issues, and I want to get a little more deeply into this one. What was described as one loophole is not one loophole. It's like Swiss cheese. There's nothing but loopholes in that statute. It depends on how many shareholders you have. It depends on the structure, and you have a farmer involved and all that. We have to go back to the drawing boards and redraft that statute to keep corporations out of owning farmland. And I was glad to meet Kara O'Connor here today of the Farmer Union and just chat briefly with her. But when I get, I have some background in Swiss cheese since I told you my wife is from Monroe, and we've been at every Cheese Days parade and Wilhelm Tell Festival probably for the last 30 years. So, but the point of the matter is that this affects an environmental question in a very, very profound way too. And that is, you're not going to have concentrated feeding operations if you can keep corporate abuses out of owning farmland. But more to the point, the entire water of this state has been turned over by Scott Walker to corporations, to donors, and to investors. He's a policy mule for a Republican donor cartel. That's all he is. So when I am governor, corporations are no longer going to write the permits. DNR scientists are going to write the permits. And corporations are no longer going to be able to come and tell us, well, you can't take into account the impact on neighboring streams and lakes and rivers, which is the case now, not when I'm governor. And as far as an independent DNR, I agree with that. They elect their own chair. But I don't want this board electing any chair. There better be a DNR in there of environmentalists who know how to steward the land. I'm delighted to have this question today. Thank you.
Again, I'm Andy Gronick. Again, I made my living for 35 years helping small, medium, and large businesses grow and prosper. That's exactly what we need in our state. We need to find ways to make that happen. So if you think about this issue, is this issue really about investment capital, or is it about actually addressing the acquisition of land and making sure that that's manageable? So think about an innovative way and what innovative things Wisconsin can actually do to make that happen so that small, medium, and large farms actually succeed. What if, instead of having a localized digester in farms that are actually trying to deal with the manure, which is causing all this pressure on land acquisition, was actually regionalized? And we put in pipelines, and we refined fuels for farm vehicles, and we powered cities throughout the state of Wisconsin with that renewable energy like we hear so much. This is a way that it can be done. What if we actually took that nitrate stream and we prilled ammonium nitrate fertilizer and we sold that? What if we localized organics so that we sold organic fertilizers on a national basis? What if we actually perfected those technologies and we created jobs throughout the state of Wisconsin that were good paying, family sustaining jobs by advancing technologies that actually made Wisconsin a world leader? What if we perfected the RO, reverse osmosis system, so that we were dewatering some of that manure and we were actually using that water on farms and for irrigation, again taking pressure off of that land acquisition, which is really what's putting our small farms out of business? What if we actually made it easier for small farms to transition into organic farming by taking that 2-year period, which is incredibly painful and risky for those farmers, and making it easier so that they actually had more margin? What if we actually created an exchange in the state of Wisconsin that made it easier and more efficient to bring those products to market, farm to table, farm to plate, farm to institution, again for more margins? The key here is by thinking about Wisconsin in an innovative way so that we are indeed a world leader. And I made it without them cutting off my mic. Thank you.
It was close. Click your mic.
I'm on the edge of a precipice over here, so I keep walking around here to get away from. I'm not sure the building could take it if I fell off the end of that stage. I think we're in pretty much agreement on this. The family farm is one of our fine, wonderful traditions. Years and years and years ago, I worked as a volunteer with Al Baldus, and we went from farm to farm visiting folks that care about the community and they care about the soil. But we've strayed a long way in Wisconsin. Now the care is, where is the next contribution coming from? Scott Walker and these Republicans are happy to let the family farm fail as long as there's massive corporate wealth that comes into the political system. That's what they have their eyes on. Absolutely, these CAFOs are destroying our environment. There's no question about it. And biodigesters are clearly one of the solutions to this. That's something we've been talking a great deal about in our campaign. You know, every time we spend $1 on gasoline in Wisconsin, that dollar goes somewhere else. It doesn't stay here. But we have the potential of alternative energy sources here that can really help us financially. So absolutely, I will close that loophole as fast as we can. And absolutely, we need an independent DNR. We've seen what a DNR that's captured by Republicans has done. It's not helping our environment at all. No, we have a precious environment. We have a precious state. We need to take care of it. I've been a fisher and a hunter and a fisherman my entire life. And pretty soon, between this mining bill, between the DNR being politicized, there's nowhere to hunt. There's nowhere to fish. There's nowhere to farm. We got a lot to lose if we don't close that loophole, and we're going to close it. Thank you.
Jeff?
Okay. Yes, I am interested in closing the loophole. What we're looking at is the diminishing medium-sized farm. The family farm is becoming a rarity in Wisconsin, and that is because the corporate farms are moving in. There's a severe importance regarding the family farms. The family farms generally treat the environment better. I've heard some of my colleagues reference the quality of the soil. The family farmer becomes more intimate with the soil. The family farmer is looking to the longevity of the soil, and in the end creates a higher rate of biodiversity versus monocropping or perhaps two crops. And that money, those products go back into the community and help boost the economy. And family farms create more jobs per acre than corporate farms. Corporate farms are not in Wisconsin's best interests. Oftentimes they're able to pollute and not be reprimanded because of their corporate status. Corporate farms are not looking out for Wisconsin. And I believe in closing the loophole, and I believe in protecting the farmers of Wisconsin. Thank you.
Well, whether intentionally or not, it seems like Dana has put me in a box. I may identify as somebody who believes in the concept of a republic, but that does not necessarily mean I'm one of those Republicans that was spoken about, unfortunately. Regardless, I am in support, just like everybody else here, in closing the loophole. And here's the difference. The executive office exists to enforce the law. And while some have said, even in this forum, that they would work as quickly as possible to end the loophole, I know, because I read the Constitution, the Wisconsin Constitution, and the Wisconsin statutes, that I have all the power, if I'm elected as governor, to end it the moment I get in office. And that's the difference, is I'll get up there and get it done. The reason why is I understand what hard work is like. I work 2 jobs, I go to school full-time, and I provide for a wife, 2 children, and a dog, though the dog doesn't eat too much. The issue is, I understand how quickly our money goes. In addition to that, I've been in the Navy, I've worked long hours all day, and while I may not have worked on a farm, I understand the value of hard work and how quickly our dollar goes and gets spent. So I'm ready to die. I was ready to die for the country. I was stationed with the Marines the entire time, and I'm ready to fight for each and every individual in this room, quite literally, if it means your protection. That's the executive's office purpose. That's the executive office's purpose, is to protect what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if anybody, anywhere, anytime is threatening that, you better believe I will step in personally, not tell somebody else to get it done. I will step in personally and protect you. Thank you so much.
Hi, yes, I support closing this loophole. And the biggest concerning things are that prices will spike and land prices will go up. Costs will increase. And essentially we'll be putting a new farmer or somebody that wants to be a farmer priced out of actually being a farmer. You look at what happened in Grant County, where an out-of-state investment fund came in. They wanted to buy 9,800 acres, $67.5 million worth of cost, and $7,000 an acre. So what we're seeing is not just a trend here in Wisconsin, but a trend around the country where big investment firms want to come in, buy land. They're not interested really in farming, but they're buying the land so that then they can then in turn rent back the land to that farmer. And that is pricing people out of farming. We are America's dairy land. That means something. It's on our license plate. Some people want to change that, unfortunately. I say hell no. We are America's dairy land. When I got on job December 1st of 1997, the fire service and the fire department, we had over 22,000 farms. 22,000 farmers, dairy farmers. Now we're looking at less than 10,000 dairy farmers. So we need to reinvest in farms, and we need to reinvest what makes Wisconsin great. As everyone said up here, for the most part, DNR, our natural resources are very, very important. So the trend of buying land, renting back to farmers, if you look at what happened in California, where they took hold of it, and they did it, 50% of the farms in California are actually being rented back by farmers. Right now in the state of Wisconsin, we're at about 30%. So we need to make sure we reinvest in farming, reinvest in the small farms, make sure we're taking care of what we truly are about, and that's America's dairyland. And I will make sure there's a concerted effort to do that, and not just make sure we take care of farmers, but let's reinvest in rural areas. Broadband's one way we can do that. Everyone, they need to actually be connected with the rest of the world. So that's my answer.
I'm going to stand up here because I'm short. Do I support closing the loophole? Absolutely, because the loophole undermines the intent of the law, doesn't it? The law is there to protect Wisconsin's farmers and help them be competitive against investors who are only interested in quarterly profit, and profit that isn't likely to stay in Wisconsin. I mean, farmers, they buy land to grow crops, they cultivate it, they have a vested interest in Wisconsin when they work that land. But investors, they just grow profit at any cost. And as governor, for me as governor, I need to support that Wisconsin needs to be about Wisconsin's people and Wisconsin's farmers, and to support the economy here.
Absolutely close the loophole. As it was just discussed, the spirit of that law to begin with was to protect the farmer, and this loophole pops up, and like always, greed kind of wiggles its way in and finds these loopholes and exploits them. Needs to be shut down. I just bought a little farm in a beautiful area of the state called Fort Atkinson. Anybody been to Fort Atkinson? Gorgeous spot of the state. I'm very fond of my little farm. I think we need to get back to a time when the state was full of these little family-owned farms. And so much so that not only will we close the loophole, if I get to office, I would look to incentivize small farms from coming up. Everything from ad campaigns, similar to what they do in Madison to try to encourage .com startups and things like that. Let's call .farm startups. Let's get young people excited about farming again. It's a great way of life. There's a lot of toil, but I think you're finding millennials actually looking for value in life, unlike any other generation. They don't just look for a job someplace. They say, well, what does this company do for the community? I think you're finding with the young generation that something like a family farm is going to mean a lot to them, and it's going to certainly mean a lot to the state of Wisconsin. So let's close that loophole ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on making it through question 1 without anyone going over their time limit. Here's the order for question 2.
First is Tony, second Malin, third Dana, fourth Bob, fifth Mike, sixth Andy, seventh Michelle, 8 Jeff, 9 Kelda, 10 Ryan, 11 Matt, and 12 Dave.
And asking our second question is Kate Beaton. Kate is an at-large member of the Eau Claire City Council and a 2014 graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire.
Thank you. Under Governor Walker, the UW system has seen record cuts while student loan debt in Wisconsin has ballooned to $24 billion. A popular plan to help borrowers with their monthly student loan payments and allow them to refinance their student loans just like you can with a mortgage has been rejected by Governor Walker and the Republican legislature for the last 3 sessions, denying relief to borrowers. Do you, 1, support funding the UW system? 2, support funding financial aid for Wisconsin students? 3, support a plan to allow borrowers the ability to refinance their loans just like you can a mortgage?
Thank you so much for that great question. And I think uniquely I can answer that question because I've been on the Board of Regents now for almost 9 years. And if you follow the work of the Board of Regents, you realize that I'm 1 against 17. There was 3 or 4 17-to-1 votes in the last couple of Board of Regents meetings. And I'll deal with that in a second. Yes, I think we need to increase funding for the University of Wisconsin system. If you look at why tuition has increased over time, the amount of money that the university or that the states put into the University of Wisconsin systems decreased, and tuition has increased. There's a direct correlation there, folks. There's just no mistaking that. Second of all, supporting the financial aid piece, we have to have more money in the system to make sure that students have access to financial aid. But I think it goes back to the tuition thing. I have proposed that we cut tuition at the University of Wisconsin's two-year campuses by 50%. That is the access point for higher education in the state of Wisconsin. And the third thing around refinancing as a mortgage, absolutely. If we can refinance a car, we can refinance student tuition. That should be an absolute given. Now, I have to tell you, as a Board of Regent member, I am really tired of spending our time not talking about things like that. We're talking about, let's take away student freedom of speech. How about that for number 1? How about thinking about how we're going to choose chancellors and presidents of the system to make sure that they're not academically prepared? How are we going to have professors punching a clock to make sure that they're teaching in their classes? Taking away student voice, taking away the voice of the people that work in the system. Frankly, that's backwards, that's corrupt. We have to change that now, and the only way we're going to change it is to change governors.
Now that was really 3 questions, so I only get 2 minutes to answer that one question with 3 okay. Let's go. You know, my daughter is at UW Oshkosh. She's a freshman. And so she's going to feel the pinch and the pain of debt and loan debt. And unfortunately, I have to worry as a parent about her education because we have a governor who doesn't see the need for higher education or see the need in investing in higher education either. For a lot of people in this entire state, whether you're in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, Superior, or Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, or Eau Claire, the only way that you can change your life around is through education. So we need to talk about tech colleges. And yes, I'm all for investing in UW. But what we've seen and what the governor has done since 2011 is a huge problem that we cannot ignore any further. It hurts staff, it hurts faculty, it hurts parents, and it hurts children. Our number 1 commodity is our children. And the number 1 thing for them is their education. So a couple things that I would do as governor. I'm going to make sure that we invest in Wisconsin and invest in our number 1 commodity, which is our children, in higher education. I would create a commission that will look at all the things that Governor Walker has done since 2011 and how they've hurted our system and how we can get back. It's not just about funding or money, but how we can get back to actually having UW be the top researcher in the country. How we get back to people going to UW and getting their education that they need. Going back to loan debt, yes, I'm all for SB 91 and AB 143, put in place by Corey Mason as well as Senator Hansen. That will give 5 or 6 provisions. One of them is to have students be able to refinance their loan debt. Also be able to have them add their loan debt on their income taxes, their student loans. So those are all things that we can do. Yes, we have to make sure that kids can refinance their loan just like a car loan and make it cheaper and affordable for everyone to get college, for everyone to go to tech school, for everyone to get some education out of high school so that they can have a good family-sustaining job in the state.
how many lawyers it take to turn on a microphone here. I have been on the Colleges and Universities Committee in the Assembly since I got to the Assembly. I've been ranking member as well, and I fought Scott Walker flat out about these cuts to education. He's cut $1 billion from K through 12, $784 million from the universities, and $235 million or thereabouts from the technical colleges. Now, if that isn't penny wise and dollar foolish, I don't know what is. Industry comes from higher education. Industry is invented in higher education. General Electric is moving their national world corporate headquarters from Connecticut to Boston to be closer to where there's cutting edge research so that they can understand what the new products and new industries are. We create entire new industries by investing in higher education. But what we're doing now is we're penalizing people for going to college. There's $24 billion of debt that's incurred in student loans in the state of Wisconsin. I've been a proud co-sponsor of the Higher Ed Lower Debt Bill since that bill was introduced. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with Corey Mason on that bill. We can free a generation of people to participate in our economy just by reducing the interest rates that they're paying. They're exorbitant interest rates, and it's outrageous. There's a generation captured by these student loans. And now there's 60,000 people over 60 in the state of Wisconsin that are captured by these loans as well. We're penalizing them because they're signing on for their grandchildren, they're signing on for their kids. We are penalizing people for doing the right thing. The right thing is education. And that's the thing that will create industry for the future. That is our future in the state of Wisconsin. Absolutely, positively, we will get that higher ed, lower debt bill through if I'm elected governor. Thank you.
Economic assessments routinely show that every dollar invested in our University of Wisconsin system returns over $20 to our Wisconsin economy. Indeed, by investing in our University of Wisconsin system, we make every Wisconsinite richer. We can go further. The University of Wisconsin is consistently in the top 5 for the number of patents produced by a university per year. By that metric, the technologies developed at our University of Wisconsin are literally driving our national economy. Yet Wisconsin is ranked dead last in new startups. We can change this and enact policies that will help Wisconsin technologies stay in Wisconsin and become strong Wisconsin businesses that create good paying jobs.
My answers to the questions are yes, yes, and yes. Our goal as a state can't be anything less than affordable, debt-free education for everyone. We need to make sure that access to education and job training is as affordable for our kids and grandkids as it was for their parents and grandparents. I was speaking on one of our university campuses to a group of students recently, and I mentioned to them that I was able to make it through the University of Wisconsin in 4 years with debt of $770. And then I mentioned to them that tuition at the time was still in the hundreds of dollars, not thousands, not tens of thousands, but the hundreds of dollars, and they just about fainted dead away. The average student now comes out with $30,000 in debt, and I talk to young people who have $50,000, $70,000, sometimes even more than $100,000 in debt. And what does that do to our economy? When will they be able to make a down payment on a home? When will they be able to buy a car? And what does that do to the home builders and the realtors and the automakers and the car dealers? What does it do to our economy when we have generations buried under a mountain of student debt? We have to set our goal as a state is making education as affordable for our kids and grandkids as it was for their parents and grandparents. And when we do that, we will change the budget reality where Wisconsin spends more of its state budget on prisons than on the whole university system. Unless we are willing to invest in success, Wisconsin will pay more and more for failure, flipping that budget reality means that we have to invest in success, and that starts with a commitment to higher education funding.
Again, I'm Andy Gronick. The reason I'm here, because the system is broken, Scott Walker broke it, and I'm really good at fixing things. Okay, so he's really been busy trying to break the university system, right? An economic engine in our state for its entire history, an enormous source of pride, a place where we could actually be taking our university system, putting it much closer together with our Wisconsin businesses, and throwing off more new businesses throughout the state instead of being absolutely dead last in the country. Absolutely possible. So think about it. Think about the system. Would I support the students? Of course I would. But the system says our young people are ultimately leaving the state of Wisconsin, and we have an aging population. So an idea that I threw out there is this. Why don't we recruit young people back to the state of Wisconsin? They live here. They work here for a minimum of 6 months full time. And instead of paying the state of Wisconsin income tax, we help them pay down their student debt. Do you think that would bring young people back? Absolutely. Do we want to make sure that we send a message to young people that they are the architects of the future and we give them ownership in the future of our state? Do we want to invest in cities and communities around Wisconsin, creating living and work environments that actually reflect a 21st century economy? Of course we want to support people in refinancing their debt. Why should they be paying Loan Shark when they should be looking at it just like they would a house or like a car? We want our graduates buying cars, not paying for education. Of course we want to support that. So listen, it's about looking at the entire system, but the system starts with the university system, something that Scott Walker has worked hard to starve, and then wants to blame the system and its failure upon the fact that he doesn't have a plan to grow our state. Well, I do.
All right. The answer is yes. Do I support the UW system? Absolutely. And do I believe that we should support students through college so that they don't have this gigantic financial burden at the end? Absolutely. Because the sooner we do that, the sooner they can participate in our economy and help us grow. I mean, without that, then people have no incentive to stay. And we're not investing in our future, we're investing in the future of other places where opportunities are better and education becomes better. That's not Wisconsin. That's not the Wisconsin ideal. As far as Walker's inaction, or as far as Walker being opposed, I mean, it was viewed as he was opposed to the to help reduce student debt burden on students by his inaction. I mean, he didn't really support anything. He didn't move that forward. He didn't seem to want to reduce some of that, reduce the burden on people. And that's not so much opposition as it is that he didn't care. And student loan debt needs to be addressed. Otherwise, it's hard on our economy. If we want people to be able to participate, then we need to support them. And that's a long-term economic goal that I'm for, because I care about the people of Wisconsin.
Okay, thank you, Kelda. My answer to all three questions is also yes. I believe that Wisconsin schools are experiencing a brain drain problem. And what we're seeing is that students are studying here in the UW system and then they're leaving the state. A great system is key, but we have to have the students stay in Wisconsin. We need them to do it here and to apply those skills here. We need to look at the price of higher education, which is going up, and that is resulting in some individuals, some students deciding not to go to college. And that's the last thing we need, is to turn away potential leaders and innovators with a high-priced education that they can't afford. I think some colleges may be even going out of business. I think that strengthening the UW system and the tech system and the trade system is critical with the right skills. If students graduate with the skills they need, we can improve Wisconsin. I think one benefit, too, of putting money into the system is there's nothing wrong with building. Building on the campuses is going to benefit trade union constituents who need jobs. Some people complain about the construction. I live in Madison. I've heard it. But this type of construction to these types of buildings brings jobs to union workers as well. Thank you.
Kate, thank you for your question, and thanks for staying in Wisconsin and for your public service. I, too, am a graduate of the University of Wisconsin. I went to the law school in Madison. So I have personally benefited greatly from the investment that everyone in this room and around the state has made in our university. And I want every child who grows up in the state to have the same opportunity that I had. We should be very proud of having a world-class institution in our state. We should also recognize that it is our greatest economic engine. And if we're cutting off funding for the university, as the current governor has done, if we're undermining it with regulations that are meant to destroy the trust and care that the people of Wisconsin have with that institution, then we are cutting off our own future possibilities. And so certainly we should allow the University of Wisconsin to continue to be affordable. Yes, we should have increased financial aid, but not just loans, also grants. And we need to address the cost of higher education at the University of Wisconsin and all the colleges and universities in the UW system. I think in 2011, it was Walker's first budget, and we had the dubious distinction of spending for the first time in our state's history more on our prison system than we did on the entire UW system. I can't think of a more fitting or appropriate descriptor of our governor's approach to higher education than that he thinks it's better to put people in prison than to educate them and help them grow our economy. It's offensive, it's unconscionable, and it's a threat to our middle class. It's one reason why we've seen a great shrinkage of our middle class, more than our peer states. Certainly, we should allow kids to and borrowers to refinance their student debt. I'm in a generation where I have my own student loans that I'm paying off, and I'm thinking about how do I save for my retirement and my kids' education. It's a bind that our parents didn't know. So yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, and answer all three. That may surprise people who think that those who are identifying with the idea of a republic go against that. However, I'm trying to break the mold here, and I'm not trying to do it intentionally. This is just who I am. I have no reason to fake anything. So let's consider some facts. Those who are in the state assembly, and I think one of the people here at this forum currently are, I could be wrong, but I might be mistaken, we'll see. They actually have the power to override the sitting governor if they don't like what he's doing. If you are familiar with the budgetary process, since we're talking about education here, all you have to do is go out and read this stuff. It's right there online. You can read all of it. They can override. Yes, I understand the governor has line item veto. Yes, he can change numbers, but guess what? He can be overridden with 2/3 vote. It's that simple, people. And that may sound more complex, but some people in this room understand how you can work together to find common ground. Bill Clinton did it. Here's the Republican talking about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton found common ground all the time. Also, in regard to refinancing, what we know about the 2007, 2008 economic crash is there was a lot of subprime mortgages, and I want people to be responsible when it comes to refinancing their student loans. I understand. I'm in grad school. That means I had to get my undergrad taken care of. I understand what it's like to pay off student loans. Here I am. I worked through the military to pay these things off. Praise the Lord, I was able to get some stuff done. And now I'm in grad school, working 2 jobs. I understand how hard it is to get into the school, finish the school, and pay off loans from personal experience. And finally, If you can prove to me, and I'm all for this, if you can prove to me that not being able to refinance this stuff inhibits life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then I don't have to wait for anybody. According to the Wisconsin Constitution, I will go right in and make sure it happens, no matter what anybody does, because it impedes life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you so much.
I think those questions are the tip of the iceberg. So let me talk about the tip and then the iceberg. There's no question that it was the banking lobby that went in there and, unlike mortgages and unlike car loans, said you couldn't refinance student loans. That's got to be changed. 2 weeks ago up at the UW Green Bay, I put out a proposal that we establish a Wisconsin Student Loan Authority that would guarantee student loans in this state. We used to do that before Ronald Reagan got in, and interest rates were very low. Because once banks knew that they were going to get repaid competitively, the interest rates came way down. And there weren't many defaults either. There really were not. It was simply the surety of getting paid. So I think that's a no-brainer. But what's the real iceberg? The real iceberg is that Scott Walker is vandalizing the University of Wisconsin deliberately, intentionally, maliciously, and for no economic benefit. He attacked the mission statement. He wanted to change Fighting Bob LaFollette's idea that the boundaries of the university are the boundaries of the state and make it into a training mechanism for Wisconsin industry. He got rid of statutory tenure. He cut funding massively. And then when the professors, you may remember this, had a vote of no confidence, he said, quote, in public, "It is a collective groan by people who put their own interests before their students." And I knew that to be false because my father was on the faculty of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee for 34 years. I've never met a finer man than my father, and his colleagues were the most wonderful people. The truth of the matter is that Scott Walker is simply out to attack the university. I would restore statutory tenure, fight hard to keep the mission statement forever. I would be an advocate for the University of Wisconsin around the country. I'm proud of the university. The University of Wisconsin-Madison is one of the top 50 universities in the world, and our system is one of the top in the world. And we need a fighting governor who's going to stand up for the University of Wisconsin. Thank you.
All right, last, so it must be me. Just a shout out to my fellow Blue Gold. Power to you. Yeah, so you lobbed this one up to me because, as I said before, education is my number one. If you learn nothing from this day, know that Dave Heister is all about education. So I would certainly, I'm all for allowing people to refinance their loans. In fact, let's go a step further. Let's talk about loan forgiveness. Some people, I'll talk about it in my closing, but I am a Democrat. I'm more Bernie than I am Hillary. And I think you all kind of know what that means. Was Bernie Sanders insane when he wanted free education? No. Was education free through high school at the end of the turn of the century in the late 1800s? It was not. You've all seen Laura Ingalls Wilder. She went to, I think school was up to around 6th grade or something. And then the Congress of the United States of America said, that's not quite enough. If we want to compete in the new industrial world, we better go to 12th grade. So they passed a law, and now we all know school as being K through 12. All Bernie Sanders was saying, and I echo it, is in the 21st century, we need something more. So I'm all about education. And if I do become your governor and I can start looking at education for people that get good grades and try hard, let's not just look at people that are entering college now, but loan forgiveness for people that are already there. So go Blue Golds.
Thank you. We are 3 for 3 on time. Congratulations and thank you. Our third question, the order, please pay attention.
Number 1, Jeff. Number 2, Andy. Number 3, Matt. Number 4, Mike. Number 5, Ryan. Number 6, Tony. Number 7, Bob. Number 8, Michelle. Number 9, Dana. Number 10, Kelda. Number 11, Malin. Number 12, Dave.
And asking our third and final question is Cal Christensen, who is a vet and the ASME Subchapter 63 President.
Thank you. Working families are saving less now than they have for a long time. As a governor, would you support a development of private sector retirement systems that it would help people save for retirement, similar to what public employees have, the Wisconsin retirement system? That seems to be working very well, and it's self-supporting, and it is profitable for the retirees. I know because I have been a beneficiary of that, and have got some increases larger than what I get from Social Security, which I paid into a lot longer than I have in Wisconsin retirement.
Okay, I think this is a very important question. I think it's one that digs deep in our society and asks us about our civility and how we view our seniors in our population and how we view our future. Right now, almost half of Americans don't have a retirement plan, and that's certainly concerning. We're also looking at a situation where, yes, the public system is working good, but do we need some type of retirement system, a private sector one? Do we need that? Is it mandated? I don't believe it should be mandated, but I think when we're looking at the future of the state, we cannot ignore it. We cannot have this huge amount of people without a retirement plan. That will put the burden on a younger generation that will be insurmountable. Right now, the focus on spending is not so much on retirement for younger people, it's more on big purchases like a home. Older individuals who are looking for retirement are looking for jobs that offer retirement plans. But because of the discrepancy in the target savings, we may need to accept a defined contribution retirement. And this takes the navigation, the investment away from the individual and puts it in the hands of the employer. I don't see that as being a bad thing. I see that as security for some people, but I would make it optional. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Again, Andy Gronick. So I built one of the largest businesses of its type in the world, and I did it by paying people fairly, by treating them equally, and making sure that my employees had the kind of benefits that would allow them to work hard in the state of Wisconsin and go on to a secure retirement. That should be our goal. That should be what our state is all about. And it's absolutely possible. So when we talk about mirroring something in the private sector, it's absolutely possible to do. If it's already working great in the public sector, you could actually just mirror precisely what you have. Let the people who are administering the public side administer the private side. That would keep costs down. You'd have some administrative costs at the beginning, but ultimately you'd have the same kind of fund that's available to people who would opt in on their own to have a retirement fund of their own. But I would actually take it a step further. So what if there was actually an opportunity to opt in to a Grow Wisconsin fund? To actually take some of those funds and invest in innovative ways to grow the state of Wisconsin? What if we were actually investing as people in the state, public and private, in the kinds of businesses that would actually make the state of Wisconsin a world leader? A world leader in food, in fresh water, in clean air, and renewable energies. The kinds of things that support life, that could create real jobs in science, technology, manufacturing, and in agriculture. It's exactly who we are. So if we're now investing in those firms, if we're actually looking at private equity opportunities to make sure that companies that need the funds to nurture a new idea, to grow it into a small business, to then grow that into a big business, to the benefit of everyone who lives in that community with a good paying, family sustaining job, I'm all in.
With all respect, I disagree with the slightest linkage to the retirement fund. With me as governor, there will be no tampering with that retirement fund. There will be no reaching into it. There won't be any private equity that somebody's interested in doing something with. Because when Scott Walker came into this state, he tried to tamper with that fund. He tried to suggest that it would be turned over to private managers and so on. That's not going to happen under Matt Flynn. There's a lockbox on that fund. It's not getting tampered with. Now, there are things we can do, and here's what I would do. First of all, the first thing I would do would be there's been a proposal that I would adopt that would say that many people don't opt into a 401k or a 403b just by inertia. You could make opt-in the default, mandatory unless you opt out, and studies have shown that if that happened, far more people go into it. But the other thing I like about your question and the proposal is this, is a thing called sound choice, and California is looking at it right now. Under sound choice, if an employer didn't give an option like a 401k or a 403b, the state would set something up. It would have nothing to do with the retirement fund. And I want to emphasize this again. Under Matt Flynn, nobody's getting his fingers on that retirement fund or coming up with any sort of fancy ideas of how it's going to be administered. It's staying exactly the way it is now, support of my father, support of my wife, support of a lot of people in our family. But under sound choice, California is phasing something in over the next 5 years. I wouldn't jump into that on my own. It's a very, very technical thing. The fact is there should be better financial literacy in this society. We can do that by education. You can go to the Vanguard Fund, and if you have the discipline to put something in every month at low cost, it's shareholder owned, you do very well. But not everybody does it. I understand it. But I'm cautious kind of guy when it comes around money. Bill Proxmire was my mentor when I was party chairman. But I will look at it, and if California has a good experience, that is something that I would propose. So that some person who's working and doesn't have it at work, that's what Matt Flynn would do. Thank you.
I've taken the position that we should allow anyone in Wisconsin to buy into the Wisconsin retirement system. I think there needs to be a basic rule of government, that what our government does is done for our whole society, not just a few. And applying that standard, we can keep our Wisconsin retirement system administered exactly the way it is, keep the rules exactly the same, keep the program exactly the same. But if someone is self-employed or someone is running a small business, if somebody wants retirement security and can't find it, they should be able to buy into the Wisconsin retirement system. If they pay in and they are fully vested in that plan, then they would be eligible for a pension, just as current participants are. Don't change the rules, don't change the way the system is administered, but allow this to truly be a Wisconsin retirement system that creates opportunity for retirement security for all. This is the same reason, this basic idea of making what our government does, having it being done for our whole society and not just a few. It's the same reason why I've said that Badger Care should be available to all Badgers. That by changing one word in state law, we can make Badger Care a public option that anyone could buy into regardless of income, gaining access to affordable, quality health insurance. That is something that is a goal that we should set as a state to make sure that what government does is done for all of us and not just a few.
First of all, thank you for your service, Hooyah Navy. I was in there as well. And also thank you to all the taxpayers that support our military. Without you guys, we couldn't have done it. Can't fight. So let's keep one thing in mind. Once again, if you read the Wisconsin Constitution and the Wisconsin statutes, this, while I'm not against it whatsoever, does not fall under the role of the governor. He can influence and he can vote, but he cannot create it. This comes down to the state legislature. Those who are your representatives have to spearhead this. They have to take care of it. Once again, the governor can vote, and I'm not saying I vote against it. I have no reason to go against this whatsoever. However, as we all know, education is incredibly important. I do not have a PhD in anything related to finances, and So far as I know, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody else here has a PhD in regard to finances. Therefore, what I would do is consult experts in their field who have decades upon decades of experience with this in order to figure out how to go about doing this properly to where it succeeds. I cannot rely upon myself, and anybody who runs for governor, who has been a governor, or simply is the head of anything, understands that there is wisdom in good counsel, and that's what I'll be doing. But once again, this all falls back onto one thing. The only way the governor can actually single-handedly take care of this is the only way, is if, yet again, it impedes life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And once again, if you run into that problem, I'm there, and I'm taking care of it right away. Thank you.
It's a great question. Thank you, Cal, for your service. You know, you think about this as far as having private employers being, or employees buying into the system. I'll address that in a second. But what we have in Washington, D.C. is Paul Ryan and Donald Trump messing with Social Security, messing with Medicare. I'll tell you what, that amplifies this question in a big, big way. We have to make sure that people that in the private sector have a healthy, available, happy retirement. Like my wife. My wife's retired. She's a public servant, and she's very, very happy, I think. So here's the deal. I support the state. Actually, Representative Genrich and Senator Hansen have proposed, authored a law around this issue, and I support that. But we have to make one thing very clear. By having private employees buying into the regular WRS will end the tax-deferred status of that program. That's messing with the program. We have to make sure that anything that we do at the state level using our collective buying power for private sector employees, I think that's really important. I think we can do it. California has done it, as mentioned before. So we need to move slowly, but indeed this should be a goal of the state of Wisconsin, making sure that all people in the state have the opportunity to have a great retirement. But we have to make sure that we don't cross the line and have that investment being for the public sector employee, because that will end the tax deferred status of that system. So yes, we have to do it. We have to use the collective buying power of the state. We do that all the time in the state of Wisconsin. So thank you.
In this room has been wondering about. I know I've been wondering about this the whole time, and that is, where is Governor Walker? You invited him, right, Greg? He was invited, so I think it has something to do with the fact that we have veterans, retirees, students, and farmers, and all of those descriptors frighten Scott Walker. So I think that's why he's not here. The Wisconsin retirement system, that does deserve a clap, yeah. Thank you. The Wisconsin retirement system works so well because the money it safeguards is managed by serious and responsible professionals who are looking long-term and who make safe and sound investment decisions. Indeed, a Wisconsinite looking to invest in a retirement plan would be hard-pressed to find another fund that has comparable solvency and a track record as good as the Wisconsin retirement system has. That's why, should the people of Wisconsin support it, I would support an option that any Wisconsinite who is looking to invest in a retirement plan can choose to entrust their savings with the Wisconsin retirement system.
Is this working now? Yeah. All right. I want to start with this. As a Gen Xer, I've worked from age 15, and I've never, ever, ever spent a month or a day not working, not in a career, not in a job somehow. And yet I know that I don't have a retirement plan right now because I'm a used to have. I had a $70,000 career that was reduced to a $12,000 career within 6 months during the crash. So I don't know. Do I think that messing with the public employees retirement program is the answer? No. I might not have a PhD, but I do have a background in economics. And I don't think that's the right way to go. I think we're putting the cart before the horse, quite frankly. We need to repair the wage earners' relationship ability to invest in the economy so that they have money that they can invest towards the retirement. And then we need to have more options presented forward besides the 401k, which was never meant to be a pension. And then we will have we should have more choices like a pension for everyday employees. But first, we need to have people to be able to earn more than they have to spend, because the hand-to-mouth society we have right now isn't conducive to anybody retiring.
Thank you, Kilda. I've been a co-sponsor of this bill that Senator Hansen and Eric Gingrich put out. In fact, I talked to Eric about it just the other day, and one of the problems we have is that we can't even get a hearing. There's been no hearing on that bill in the in the Assembly. There was a hearing, I believe, the last term in the state Senate. One of the problems is that we've got Republicans in the state legislature that are blocking everything that is trying to be done functionally for people. And what's happening in Washington right now, keep your eyes on that ball, because eventually this tax, I don't know what this thing is that they're passing, what's in the conference committee, but it's going to come home and it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us in the middle class. We have to be prepared to take care of our own in Wisconsin. I am in support of this bill to create a retirement system like we've been talking about. I'm also for the Badger Care buy-in bill. I'm a co-sponsor of that. The way the ACA is being manipulated by the Republicans in Washington, we must be prepared to take care of our own. Government in this state needs to be for people. And that's the way it's going to be when I'm elected governor. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I do support developing a mirror system that would go alongside the Wisconsin retirement system that private employees and employers could buy into. And I do it for 3 reasons. The first is anybody who spends a lifetime working deserves to have a secure retirement. It's as simple as that. Secondly, as a former state legislator, I'm actually a member of the Wisconsin retirement system, and I want it to be solvent, and I want it to be supported. It is one of the best run, if not the best run, public pension systems in the country, and that we have been insulated from a lot of the disasters you see in other states. I don't want that to change, but I think if we allow other employees to buy in, then we increase public support for it, and we make it much harder for opportunists, like our current governor, to try to undermine it. Just like how Social Security and Medicare have broad public support, the more people who are supportive of a system, the harder it is to destroy it. Third, I'm a small business owner and an employer, and I have to compete with the biggest companies in the state and around the world for talent. And it's very, very hard for me, as somebody with a startup trying to grow my business, to offer the kind of benefit packages that these legacy corporations can't. And it's hard for employers of these big companies to walk away from a great fringe benefit package, whether it's retirement, whether it's health care, whether it's paid family leave. These things should be available to every single worker, not dependent on the job or the company that you work for. This would unleash so much economic activity from people like me who could take a risk and go start a business, and people that are willing to join an entrepreneur in starting a business. So there are a lot of great reasons that we can do this, and I strongly support it. I think it's a great idea, not just for retirement, but also for health care and for benefits like paid family leave and child care affordability. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the best pension system arguably in the world. It's a defined benefit pension system. Pew study after Pew study have shown that we have the best pension system, 99.9% fully funded public sector pension system. And it should stay that way, defined benefit, not defined contribution. So the question should be, not why do these public sectors have this great retirement? The question should be, how do we make sure that everyone has something that mirrors what we have at the WRS? And how do we bring everybody up, not just say, well, you guys have a pension, so we want everybody to come down here. Since you have one, we don't want you to have one, so we don't have one. No, how do we bring everybody up? Well, we do that with SB 45, and that's the bill that's been mentioned, the Secure Retirement Act, put in front of us by Senator Hansen and Representative Gingrich. I, last year, December of 2015, testified on behalf of passing the Secure Retirement Act. My union, my association, we started the Wisconsin Coalition for Retirement Security. It's a group of stakeholders that actually helped put in place the Secure Retirement Act. So we want to make sure that everyone, not just public sector employees, but everyone has a secure pension. The SB 45 does not change the WRS. It mirrors the WRS. So that small businesses, so that farmers and private sector workers will have something, a defined benefit plan that mirrors the WRS. So that is looking out for everybody in the state of Wisconsin, and that's what we need to do, invest in everyone. Public sector employees have it. That's great. We're not going to take it away from them, nor should we. Let's make sure that everyone has a secure retirement, because the number one question a lot of times we get around the state is, how am I going to retire, and did I save up enough money for retirement? It's not a question that people should have to ask. It's time for the state to step in and make sure every Wisconsinite has a secure retirement.
Hello. Thank you very much for your service. And it's a great question. The spirit of, I think, what we're talking about here is retirement and taking care of people in retirement age important to the state of Wisconsin? And I, like most of the people here, think that it absolutely is. And I think this SB 45 bill shows that. I would support it. You can get so much with Social Security. Why was Social Security created in the first place? Back in FDR days, well, people want to save for retirement, think it's a good idea, but then life happens. So Social Security kind of forces you to put that money in there. And it was brought about because it is really a basic need that every one of us in this room either have right now or will have. And the question here, in the spirit of what we're talking about, is let's recognize that and give people alternatives. So if you're not working at a company that has one, there's one for that you can go into if you so choose, the state. And I would say not to mix it with the current public plan, because as Mr. Evers mentioned, it could take it out of a tax deferred status. But let's put money where our mouths are, and the state of Wisconsin could match some of what you put in, just like a company would. I've worked for companies for all of my career, and you put in so much and they'll match up to 6% of what you put in. There's no reason the state couldn't see the importance and do something similar to it. Thank you.
And with that, we are now on to closing statements. You have 1 minute, not 2, 1 minute. So keep it short. Sue here is going to give you your order, and then we'll get started.
All right, to close, first, Dana. Number 2, Jeff. Number 3, Mike. Number 4, Ryan. Number 5, Tony. Number 6, Matt. Number 7, Kelda. Number 8, Bob. Number 9, Michelle. Number 10, Malin. Number 11, Andy. And number 12, Dave.
Dana?
Well, thank you, folks, for coming today and for hearing us. I think one thing I want to leave you with is the fact that under Scott Walker's vision, what we have is a benefactor for corporations. Corporations, massive, powerful interest groups, that's what reigns supreme. I'm on the WEDIC board, which is the board that just finished fighting about Foxconn, and I've opposed Foxconn to their face. Massive corporate giveaways like that and investing that much in one industry, one company within one industry, impairs everything else that we've been talking about today on this stage. We need a government that represents people. I will be an advocate for regular folks as governor of this state. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for coming, and thank you to the hosts. This is wonderful. This is a good sign. There's a lot of people that aren't satisfied right now. Just a few things. As a major part of my campaign is that this election is about survival. This election is about fresh water. This election is about the Great Lakes, the inland waters of Wisconsin. We're looking at toxicity, we're looking at our waters being poisoned, and none of us, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, can survive without fresh water. It's something that's brought up, but it's not something that's addressed seriously, and that's my intention. I mentioned before that I'm a compassionate person. I am not a sitting politician. I am not someone with political experience, but I wear lenses that see individuals in a different way than anyone else. I can bring this type of compassion to Wisconsin. Thank you.
I said at the beginning that Scott Walker wouldn't be beaten with money. He'll have more than anyone. There's another thing that won't beat Scott Walker. He won't be beaten by simply telling the people of Wisconsin over and over again what's wrong with Scott Walker. We have to tell people what we're for. We have to tell people, we have to speak to people of our hopes and dreams, what we love, not what we hate. There are too many forgotten people living in forgotten places in Wisconsin who don't believe they're being represented. They don't believe their voices are being heard. We have to go to those forgotten places, reach out to those people, and we have to offer them a form of public service that they haven't seen in an awfully long time. To me, those who serve the people are servants, not masters. And to me, that puts them under the people, not above them. We need to rekindle that ethic of public service and promote the common good in our state and give government back to those people in those forgotten places who feel that they are doomed to hold their noses and choose between what they regard as the lesser of evils.
There's a bunch of great minds up here. Let's just give everybody a round of applause real quick. I am a human being, you're a human being. One thing we can't stand is people who overextend their reach. Every president, every governor has been accused of the same exact thing, lawless. I read the laws, I adhere to them. I even go the speed limit. That doesn't make me perfect, but the point is, I'm here for you. I'm ready to fight. I was ready to die when I joined the Navy and stationed with the Marines twice, and I'm ready to do the same thing for you guys. I'm here, I'm your public servant, and I will not overextend my reach. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Great. Here we go, 1 minute. This election is going to be about values. Values around education, values about our natural resources, values about our middle class. But I think the folks in this audience need to think about this. Who can beat Scott Walker? That's the bottom line. I'll be humble when I say this. I won 3 statewide elections. I'm guessing that most of you voted for me last April. I won 70 of 72 counties. We must end the divide and conquer that we're facing in the state of Wisconsin. I believe that I am the best candidate to do that. In addition to that, when I'm elected, I will have the authority under state law to appoint the person to fill out the remaining 2 years of my 10 years state superintendent. So thanks so much, all of you, the people that did this today. It's a wonderful event.
Our state was once known for the unnegotiable integrity of our government. It was bipartisan, 100 years. the legacy of Fighting Bob La Follette. This governor has corrupted it, and he's turned over the public assets of this state to donors, investors, and corporations. And this governor has turned over the value of work away from wages to the investors. It's time we had a fighting governor in there. Decide who you want on the stage next year in the debate against Scott Walker. Who can most aggressively and articulately prosecute the case against him? And I'll tell you this, put a fighting sailor named Matt Flynn there and you'll see what happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. In 2018, we have an incredible chance to restore Wisconsin to a place where there's fairness and opportunity available for all. I agree, it's not about saying what Walker did wrong. It's about saying, how are we going to bridge the divide by focusing on what matters and focusing on the future? The things that bring us together are our values. We want to have sustainable jobs so that our kids don't have to leave the state to find opportunity. Every person in the state should have access to health care. Every child should come into the world with parents having time to care for them with paid family leave. And we need to protect our clean air and water and our natural resources. I have the energy and the ideas to help build that future of opportunity and fairness for all. I ask you for your vote on August 14th and November 6th, and I ask you for your help and ideas between now and then. Thank you very much.
I'm Bob Harlow, and I'm running for governor of Wisconsin. I'm a third-generation Wisconsinite. I grew up just as, you know, is that the wrong one? No, that's the wrong one. You've heard all that, okay. As I travel our state, the message I hear from voters is clear, and that is it's time for Scott Walker's politics of division to end. I know that much more brings us together as Wisconsinites than divides us. Let's come together around the vision of the prosperity for Wisconsin that we share. As governor, I will work with our legislature to enact policies that streamline Wisconsin technologies into strong Wisconsin businesses that create good paying jobs. I know that a governor's most important responsibility is to achieve an economic climate that creates good paying jobs, and as governor, I will work tirelessly to ensure that every Wisconsinite has the very best job possible. Thank you very much.
All right, with all due respect, who broke democracy? Who broke our democracy? A less than 40% voter turnout broke democracy. We can't walk out of this room and think we can't beat Scott Walker, because that will undermine every effort we have. If we don't win this election, none of our values matter. All right? So we have to win. We have to come together and do it. People don't think they have a voice anymore. Well, I assure you, the people of Wisconsin will know the difference between the two candidates, between me and Scott Walker, because I'm more representative of the people of Wisconsin than he is. And people will know they have my attention. And that is what's important. Top-down government doesn't work. Let's let the voters be the loudest voice in our democracy.
All right. First of all, thank you all for coming. Thank you for our moderator, and thank you for all the people who put this on. And thank you all again for coming. And I give credence to all of you. This is a tough race with a lot of smart people up here. But I tell you, being a firefighter, we are fighters. I have fighter actually in my vernacular. We have a mantra, all hands working, means that everyone on the scene is doing something to mitigate or make the situation better for everybody. And when we do that and we work together, that's when we are at our best. So that's what I'm going to bring to the table. If you look at what we've had, $3 billion in a golden parachute to a foreign company, if we took that $3 billion and invested in farming, in education, in healthcare, in our schools, and everything else we talked about today, that will make a great quality of life. And then we wouldn't have to give a golden parachute to a foreign company. They will want to come here because we are the greatest state and we have the greatest worker. We need to put people over politics, people over bad policy, and people over even party, because we have to work together. Firefighters will leave no one behind. I went to the same high school as Governor Walker. We obviously took some different classes. I'm the person who's going to take them on and beat them again. Thank you.
I'm Andy Gronick. Thanks for turning off the mic. Do you think he wants me to talk? All right, folks, I know exactly what you want. You want someone with progressive values that will beat Scott Walker. You want that more than anything else on the planet. I'm a business guy with progressive values. I'm a former middle linebacker who likes to hit people, and I can't wait to hit Scott Walker. I'm an outsider. I'm an outsider. Let me tell you a little bit something here, folks. Nearly everybody in Wisconsin is open to an outsider. Nearly everybody in Wisconsin wants somebody to take a business-like approach to solving the complex problems in Wisconsin. That sounds a lot like me. Politics, as usual, is not working. I'm surrounded by great candidates, people who feel like family. And I will tell you that that vote for someone who wants establishment will get split, and I'm going to win this primary with 1/3 of the votes. I need your support. www.andygronick.com. Get in early, get in now. Thank you.
Is it time for Dave already? I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out here in this cold day to listen to all of us blow hard at you. Hopefully you've learned quite a bit of stuff. From my perspective, there's 3 pillars of my campaign. There's education. What's the second one? Ethics. What's the third one? Transparency. Very good. The other thing is, I don't want your money. Someone said we can't beat Scott Walker with money. That's exactly right. So if you have $100, keep it. If you have $10, keep it. I literally will take no contributions. We are going to win this state with $0 in common sense. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. I would like to, thank you all for sticking to your time limits and doing such a wonderful job sharing the microphone. With that, this concludes our program for the afternoon. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our volunteers and organizers who made this event possible. Our sponsors, the Wisconsin Farmers Union, the Wisconsin State AFL-CIO, AFSCME Subchapter 63, and the Wisconsin Alliance for Retired Americans. Would like to thank our hosts, the veteran VFW Post 305, the individuals who provided and asked today's questions, our audience, big thank you to our audience, and of course to the 12 candidates for Wisconsin Governor who shared their time and ideas with us this afternoon. I'm Annalise Eicher of One Wisconsin Now. This has been an absolute delight. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715-839-5067 or online at valleymediaworks.org.